The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good afternoon, and welcome to the ALCTS webinar on organizing the evaluation of electronic resources. I'm Pamela Blue, Chair of the ALCTS Continuing Education Committee. Our presenters today are Lenore England, Digital Resources Librarian, and Lee Fu, Digital Services Librarian at the University of Maryland, University College. Lenore is responsible for electronic database, e-book, and e-journal management and vendor negotiations, and Lee provides support for electronic resources access and the library webpage, answers technical questions, and performs maintenance on SFX and ResearchPort. Their presentation offers a detailed review of the multifaceted electronic resources evaluation process and will include a demonstration of how to organize the evaluation process and implement it quickly using SpringShare LibGuides, a tool that is flexible and simple to maintain. If you have questions for Lenore and Lee, please type them into the question box on your screen, and they will answer them at the conclusion of their presentation. If there are more questions than time permits, they will answer them offline, and you will be sent the answers together with the link to the recording, which will be sent to you in a day or so, probably by Friday, together with a copy of the slides from today's presentation. Now I'm going to turn the presentation over to Lenore and Lee, and there may be a slight delay as I do so.
And hello, everybody. Hello, everybody. I can see that you're on our PowerPoint. Welcome. My name is Lenore England, and again, welcome to the webcast Organizing the Evaluation of Electronic Resources, which again is hosted by ALCTS, and we thank them very much. The Association for Library Collections and Technical Services. Today is May 4th, and our webcast will be from 2 to 3 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. We look forward to letting you know more about our organizational tools to manage the electronic resources evaluation period at the University of Maryland, University College Library, as well as other suggestions for a similar plan in other functional areas at your library. We encourage questions, but as Pamela mentioned, and if possible, if you could hold off until the end. We definitely want to hear from you. And again, as Pamela mentioned, you can put them in the chat window during our presentation, but we will address them at the conclusion. We've made sure that we have allowed enough time to answer most, if not all, your questions. And again, thank you. And now, may I introduce my colleague, Lee Fu.
Hello, everyone. My name is Lee Fu, Digital Services Librarian at UMUC. I have worked at UMUC for about 3 years. As Pamela mentioned, my job responsibilities include providing support for electronic resources access and the library website, answering technical questions, and performing maintenance on SFX and ResearchPort. My colleague Lenore England and I are looking forward to sharing with you how we organize the electronic resources evaluation process at UMUC.
And thanks, Lee. And again, my name is Lenore England, and I'm the Digital Resources Librarian at UMUC. And just to let you know a little bit more about me, I've been responsible for the electronic resources management and financial and procurement matters for the library for nearly 10 years and worked very closely with Lee on electronic resources management, or ERM, matters. I started out using the organizational tools we'll discuss for the evaluation process and now actually apply them to other ERM processes. I'm also active with Electronic Resources Management for the University System of Maryland and Affiliated Institutions Consortium as co-chair of the Electronic Collections Task Group. I use some of the organizational tools to keep track of projects for the consortium now too, and I love to organize. So for the objectives, I will show you how to organize your electronic resources evaluation process. The complexity of electronic resources evaluation as part of the collection development management will also discussed. And if the evaluation process is not well organized, it can become fragmented and inefficient. So our solution was to build an ERM evaluation central site that will bring together all the components using Web 2.0 technology, or SpringShare LibGuides. We'll demonstrate how the site can be implemented very quickly and will result in a very flexible tool that's really easy to maintain. And the diverse resources, tools, and staff requirements are also included in the central site, enabling the library staff to easily understand the evaluation process and show the interconnectivity of all of these. And we'll also show how this solution helps to ensure the quality and relevance of electronic resources and control costs during the evaluation process for both the electronic resources themselves and the central site. And this type of organizational structure and process that we'll show you is really applicable to other types of technical services or library tasks or functions as well. And there are possibilities to use in other technical services areas, and we'll give you a few ideas, and we'd love to hear from you about the ideas that we show you. And now for a bit of background about UMUC and the library. This, I think, will help you to understand how we organize the evaluation process here at UMUC. UMUC is part of the University System of Maryland and Affiliated Institutions Consortium that has 16 campuses here in the state of Maryland. We also offer classes worldwide. In FY 2009, we had over 196,000 enrollments, so we're big. Our students are non-traditional. 3 or 4 of them are working adults, and most of them have full-time employment. We offer about 100 bachelor's and master's degree programs, and we also offer numerous doctorate of management programs. And 77% of our classes are online, but even the face-to-face classes have an online presence. And about the library, of course, we're almost entirely online since we're primarily a distance education university. And we have a diverse set of mainly electronic resources, which Lee and I manage, services and instruction. Here in the library, we have about 28 staff, 19 librarians and 9 staff. And our mission is, of course, literacy education. We definitely work with to collaborate with the undergraduate and graduate schools to provide worldwide access to all of our library resources and services. And we also provide 24/7 reference. We have a lot of information literacy instruction. Of course, most of our collections are online. We definitely provide document delivery in ILL. We do provide books in print. We circulate through the USMAI consortium. That books and prints are circulated through the continental United States. And we have a very large e-reserves in the online classroom. Our online classroom is called WebTyco. So now we'd like to do a poll. We want to get to know you. What type of organization do you represent? University, college, library, college, community college library, a special library, public or K-12 library, or other. So I'm going to go ahead and open up the poll for you. And if you could go ahead and click on what type of organization you represent. And I see we're getting a lot of answers, and this is very quick. Thanks for your very quick clicks. And we see we have about 80% voting, and I'm just going to wait just a few more minutes to see if we can get close to that 100% mark. Okay, we're just getting a few more votes in, and it looks like most of you are from university research libraries, and there are about 16% from college community libraries. And I think we've got just about everyone. It's looks like it's slowed down, so I'm going to, and thank you very much, everybody. We've got just a few more people answering, so I'm going to go ahead and close out the poll, and then I'm going to share the results with you. So again, looks like we have about 76% from university research libraries. We have about 16% from community college, college and community college libraries, 2% from special libraries, about 4% from public or K-12 libraries, and there are a few from others. So thank you very much, everybody. We're glad to get to know you a little bit more. So I'm going to go ahead and close out the poll, and we'll continue. So the organizational process that we are going to show you, the organizing the evaluation of electronic resources, is part of our ERM Small Solutions, Big Results projects that we're now managing for our electronic resources. We're implementing quick, small solutions to get great, big results in terms of maintenance, upkeep, and organization. And these are not costing us anything, except for, of course, for our staff time. What did we do here at UMUC to organize our electronic resources evaluation process with a quick solution to keep us on track? Well, the first thing we looked at the evaluation process as a whole, the process of managing the diverse means of accounting for resources, tools, and staff, and we did break it down into those areas during the electronic resources evaluation process, and this entire process was reviewed at the UMUC library in order to find an effective solution. So how did we do this? Well, we first took a close look at our electronic resources. How do we evaluate them each year? What process do we go through? We then reviewed all the tools we use during the evaluation period. For instance, this could be Microsoft Office. We use Word and Excel and Access, or other online resources that might be from vendors. And these are just examples. And once this was done, we noted who on our staff is involved to come up with the idea for our central site. So let's take a look at the electronic resources evaluation process in a bit more detail here at UMUC and how we organized it. So what happens in general terms during our evaluation period? Well, it's usually made well in advance of the fiscal year, and I think you all probably do the same thing. Electronic resources are reviewed and selection decisions are made regarding continuation, addition, or cancellation of resources for the next fiscal year. And of course, all of our decisions are done in preparation for and within the limits of the next fiscal year's budget. What can happen during this evaluation period that makes it inefficient, though? Since the process of evaluation is multifaceted and includes a seemingly endless range of resources and tools involving a lot of library staff, evaluation process can become increasingly fragmented if not well managed. In addition, the entire process can be really unwieldy, from the preparation to the review of current, new, or upgraded resources to making decisions of what electronic resources to keep, add, or drop. For instance, in the past, we were looking at our electronic resources without a good long-term view. This was not a really comprehensive way for us to look at them, and we might not have always received feedback from faculty. In other words, we just made the decisions here in the library, or we received little feedback at all because we needed to be organized. So let me show you in much more detail how we organize the evaluation process here at UMUC. So as I mentioned earlier, we start well in advance, and the evaluation process takes place over a period of about 5 months, beginning in the early fall every year. I usually start in sometimes as early as September, and I usually wrap up by the time the new year rolls around, usually in January or early February. Before the process begins, though, a spreadsheet that includes a specific set of criteria for each of the current resources is updated with current information. You all might have also done this with your evaluation process. You have a criteria that you use. But here what we do is we keep that criteria in a spreadsheet and we update it every year. It's great for historical information. And the spreadsheet also includes revised statistics for resources as well as links to any preliminary analytical reports. Because our staff is small, as you saw, we're lean and mean, the process can be managed in a series of 4 to 5 meetings with the entire library staff invited. During the meetings, the current resources are reviewed first, and then possible upgrades or additions are reviewed. When we're reviewing our current resources, we do what we call initial cut. We look at what possibly might be deleted. So the resources include aggregated databases, e-book collections, e-journal collections, as well as individual subscriptions to e-books or e-journals, for instance, and other resources that we have here. The discussion for each of the resources is recorded into the main evaluation spreadsheet during the meetings, but I also have a wiki-type recording that Lee will show you later, and it's really good to have those notes recorded in live time. So the end result is a tiered list of resources, including a list of possible discontinuations as well as additions or upgrades. So we usually have 2 tiers, one that we think we can definitely cut, and one that means that, boy, we're going to have to really think about those. So tier 1 usually we can cut, and tier 2 are possibles. And we've also had up to 3 tiers. This list is included as a worksheet within the main evaluation spreadsheet. The ERM team then informs the library subject liaisons. You may have similar subject liaisons or librarians at your library. And these liaisons in turn distribute the list to academic departments and faculty to alert them about potential electronic resources changes in their subject areas, and they request their feedback on the tiered list that we came up with. And we really take this list very seriously. So when the notices are sent out, beforehand, we set up any trials for new or upgraded resources. So these have been set up previously, and the liaisons can easily send out the appropriate trials for the appropriate resource to their faculty contacts. And we also have detailed analytical and statistical analysis about changes in the new or upgraded potential resources, for instance, title lists, or if there's any crossover, or if there's any unique titles. We have that available too. And we also have fact sheets or other background information are gathered about the new or upgraded resources. And then preliminary pricing is requested from the vendors and also included in the main evaluation spreadsheet. So once feedback is received from the staff and the faculty, their comments are posted to a blog that's accessible to all of the library staff. And from this blog posting, we take what we do is we review all the comments, the feedback from faculty, and we come up with our decisions, our final decisions. So these decisions are made on what to drop, add, or upgrade by taking into account the feedback, as well as, and perhaps most importantly, the budget for the next fiscal year. And a final electronic resources budget for the next fiscal year is then prepared that includes the anticipated costs for each of the resources. The backbone of this process is really the tools and the library staff we use, so we wanted to definitely mention these. So the certain tools that are used during the evaluation process, for instance, to prepare statistics from vendor sites, EasyProxy, SFX, and MetaLib, which are the tools we use here. Various software tools from the Microsoft Office suite are used. For example, an Access database is used to gather statistics from our EasyProxy. Excel is used to gather statistics for SFX and MetaLib, and we're in the process of even updating that and automating it even more. And Word is used to prepare the statistics and other analytical reports. Research about the electronic resources from the web is also reviewed to link to and create fact sheets. And as we mentioned before, blogs and wikis are used to send out the evaluation information for comment, post documents for collaboration between staff, and prepare for meetings. And based on all of these tools and the many library staff that are involved during the evaluation process, they all use these tools in one way or another. The electronic resources librarian, that's me, oversees the entire process and prepares all the statistical and analytical reports, coordinates the meetings, and Lee and I both set up the trials, we work on the budgeting process, and we do many, many other tasks during this whole evaluation period. A system librarian and web programmer ensure that the statistical information is available and assist us, that's Lee and myself, with other tasks. And of course the library liaisons, as I mentioned, from the reference and instruction staff, interface with the faculty and staff to make sure that the changes to electronic resources are disseminated to the community as a whole and get that feedback. This is a really critical part for this entire evaluation period, receiving feedback from the UMUC community. And now Lee will discuss the solution on how we decided to manage this organizational process that I just discussed for our electronic resources evaluation with a tool that the library had been using, but for an entirely different purpose. And now I'll turn it over to Lee.
Thanks, Lenore. To organize the evaluation process, our solution is to implement SpringShare LibGuides. So how do we find the solution? We started the process by reviewing both commercial and open source ERMS. Commercial ERMS under review included EBSCOnet ERM Essentials, Content DM, SharePoint, SpringShare LibGuides. Some of you are probably familiar with EBSCOnet ERM Essentials, an electronic resources management tool developed by one of the biggest aggregator resource vendor. We included the other three because we already have them in place and would like to explore the possibility of expanding the usage for electronic resources management. Open source ERMS consisted of Access ERM, CAFS, ERMS, our homegrown resource information management system, which offers basic functions such as displaying database A to Z list, including some vendor and technical information. Based on our research, EBSCOnet ERM Essentials provided some desirable features such as trials management, voting for possible new resources, stats, and collection analysis functionalities. The downside is it carries a steep price tag and takes substantial staff resources for implementation. Other software without additional cost each has its own specialty. For example, we have Content DM as the backbone of our digital repository, SharePoint as a collaboration tool, and SpringShare LibGuides for subject guides. In comparison, an open source ERMS can be acquired at little cost, but the options are limited. Similar to commercial ERMS, the implementation can be complicated. It may not be able to communicate with other library software systems. Documentation, training, and technical help are limited. In addition, its future development is uncertain. The conclusion is neither a commercial nor an open source ERMS includes all the collection development components a library would like to have. The implementation period takes up to 12 months or even more. For libraries with small staff, it's not realistic to implement and maintain the system without straining resources. Among all the candidates, SpringShare LibGuides stood out for its capabilities and zero additional cost. We decided to use it with the homegrown ERMS as an alternative Web 2.0 tool to organize and manage the evaluation process in one central location. The SpringShare LibGuides was designed to host subject and course guides for teaching, learning, and research. However, LibGuides have a number of advantages for managing the electronic resources evaluation process as well. Let's take a look at the chief advantages of using LibGuides for organizing the evaluation process. The library staff are familiar with the use of LibGuides format. The embedded Web 2.0 features of LibGuides were considered a good fit for managing the diverse tools of electronic resources. Library staff can post content from the web and from our homegrown ERMS, embedded videos, RSS, and podcasts, customize the look and organization, add widgets and API, and distribute content and services. The format was flexible to serve as a portal to a variety of resources, tools, and staff. The progression of the evaluation process can be easily displayed on the site. As the evaluation period progressed, the site could readily be updated and changed as needed. LibGuides are interoperable with our homegrown resource information management system. It can readily insert an electronic resource into the guide. Once we decided on the best solution, we quickly implemented the ERM Evaluation Central site. Here is the URL of the template site. Please feel free to check it out for yourself later on. And now let's take a tour of the site. This is a screenshot of the Evaluation Central homepage. The site was organized by mapping the electronic resources evaluation process. It includes 8 pages: home page, add, upgrade, and drop list page, cost and statistical analysis page, trials and fact sheets, pricing, liaison information, comments block, and final evaluation decisions and budget page. In the middle of this page, each tab links to a component page. I will introduce all of the pages while showing you the screenshots of 5 of them. On each page, links are set up to electronic resources, spreadsheets, analysis reports, blogs, and vendor sites when necessary. Lists used for tracking the progress of the evaluation process are also posted. Template documents are posted for the library liaisons. All of these applications are displayed in an easy-to-use and navigable format that helps the library staff understand the process of our evaluation and contribute the feedback. The homepage of the Evaluation Central site includes a brief introduction of the site and links to the electronic resources news blogs for the past 2 years, which include critical news and information about resources for the library staff. Additional information includes hard evaluation topics about resource interface updates, vendor acquisitions or changes, and an evaluation timetable. On the Add, Upgrade, and Drop List page, the library staff reviewed the electronic resources to make preliminary and final decisions during the evaluation period. A link to the main electronic resources spreadsheet on the UMUC network is located here. The list of add and upgrade are included in one box, while the drops in another. LibGuides allow maintaining the list in a wiki fashion. Both lists are continuously updated during the evaluation period, even during the evaluation meetings. The add and upgrade lists include notes from evaluation meetings, for example, pricing for some resources, fact sheet information, and links to vendor sites. Also noted are the resources that were not closely reviewed, with the reason why this was not done. This is to provide a historical collective record of the evaluation for future reference. The drop list is created at the bottom as the evaluation meetings progress. It's a full tiered list with preliminary pricing at the conclusion of the meetings. Stats and analysis reports are important to decision-making process. The next page is for the cost and the stats analysis. Some standard stats are collected in advance. Others are done during the evaluation process upon request. Okay, now we are on the trials and the fact sheets page. So once the trials are ready, we'll include a link to the trial and the fact sheets, which actually reside on the secure UMUC network drive. This is important because of the confidential nature of the information. And the templates are also included for the library liaisons to send out to faculty members to, to request feedback. The library liaisons page includes all the evaluation considerations information that needs to be sent out to the university community. Liaisons can choose the most appropriate resources for the subject areas from the DS, upgrade, and drop lists. Template messages to send out to program directors and faculty are included. Messaging regarding DS, upgrades, and drops are initially sent out, followed by solicitations for comments. And the message about the trials help liaisons to get the word out quickly. A comments blog page is created to collect the feedback from faculty, students, and staff. A link to a comment blog is posted here. The library liaisons request feedback from faculty members and report it in the blog. The external comments site is necessary because the library decided not to turn on comments for any of our LibGuides, and additional comments were not provided by SpringShare at present. Final decisions on adds, upgrades, and drops are listed here. This page changes during the evaluation process and later, as the final budget is approved and once the resources are turned on and off, depending on the decision. In some cases, when a resource is dropped, other free resources from vendors are no longer available, and keeping track of any changes is very valuable. Information on this page is sent out in the library newsletter. So that was a quick tour of the evaluation central site. Again, I encourage you to check out the template site for yourself, following the URL on slide number 21. And I would like to start the second poll. The question for you is, do you use LibGuides for any function other than subject guides at your organization? If you use LibGuides at all, the multiple choices are yes, no, thinking about it, not applicable. Now we are opening the poll. Please choose the one that fits your situation the best. And I see responses coming in. Pamela shared the most recent roster with us today. It shows 117 individuals and 30 group members registered. So there are roughly about more than 200 individual attendees in total. And I'm very curious to see the result among the participants. So looks like everyone has responded. Let's close the poll and share the result. Okay, I can say from my end, 38% said yes, 24% said no, 20% are thinking about it, and 18% said not applicable. Thank you everyone for taking the poll. And now let's get back to the slides. Great, so thank you. Thank you again for your participation. It's very good to know that actually 30% of you have used LibGuides for other functions. For those of you who do not yet, you may consider after this webinar. For those of you who are thinking about it, you may find it a good fit and implement it. So what are the potential applications to other library areas? The organizational nature of technical services makes it suitable for using LibGuides. Consider some areas including cataloging, acquisition, collection development, subject specialists, and even more for your consideration, digital projects, circulation, reserves process, hiring, HR actions, budget development process, communication, and marketing. In general, for projects that are repeated over time, involve multiple staff, and require project management too, LibGuides could be a big help. If you have an idea, I encourage you to share with the audience in the question and answer session later on. Outcomes and future development. The Evaluation Central site helped the electronic resources staff streamline the evaluation process. It proved to be well used and appreciated by the library staff. The feedback from the library staff was very positive. Library liaisons especially appreciated having the evaluation information centrally located so that it can be readily sent out to the UMUC community. They also better understood the progress and process of evaluating electronic resources. The process was much more efficient by saving time looking for the various tools of the evaluation. The need to organize the overall structure of electronic resources management is critical. We are now evaluating how to integrate the Evaluation Central site into our electronic resources management process. We are also considering how to manage the content required for the evaluation process, including resources, tools, and staff in a more efficient way. Conclusions. The electronic resources evaluation process ensures the quality and relevance of resources while controlling costs. Librarians in the evolving digital world can design their own tools for Web 2.0 solutions that offer cost-effective solutions for managing electronic resources evaluation as an alternative to commercial or open source ERMS. The Electronic Resources Evaluation Central LibGuides site can readily be enabled for any library that has LibGuides in place and is faced with limited staffing and budget. The central site can serve as a variety of purposes and represents out-of-the-box thinking. Once set up, the site is easy to maintain. It offers a means of effectively centralizing a diverse evaluation process for electronic resources librarians and other library staff. The site evolves over time to connect to other electronic resources tools and resources, proving to be very flexible and a critical part of strategic planning for the management of electronic resources. The application can be used in technical services function and other library areas as a way to quickly organize tasks and build a teamwork environment. Okay, so we have probably been talking too much. Thank you for your attention. Now it's your turn to ask questions. Lenore will take your questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Lee. So I'm going to go ahead and open up the questions module. And we'd love to hear from you and see if you have any questions. And I'm looking now at your questions. Okay, we have quite a few here, so I'm going to scroll to the top, and that's what I'm doing now. Okay. I'm just going to scroll to the top to get... Okay. I see that... Sorry, the questions window is a bit short for me, so I'm just going to briefly go through this. What sorts of feedback from campus faculty would cause you to reconsider a decision to cut based on cost per use? Well, let's see. If we get faculty feedback, I think if they say that this is definitely a resource that we need, it's critical for assignments, we definitely have to have it, then that we take that kind of feedback very seriously. Of course, we go back to them and say it's very costly. We're doing that now with an unnamed resource because it is extremely costly for what we think is a relatively small group of programs, actually classes, but they're really want this resources, so we're hanging in there, and sometimes we have to maintain a resource. We do our research from fiscal year to fiscal year, and eventually we do work with faculty to let them see what our point of view is. So thank you for that question. And there's another, let's see, there's another question. Do you keep stats on how many people read the blog? And oh yes, we do. We definitely do. Our blog is actually through Google Blogs because, as Lee mentioned, we can't turn on the comments for SpringShare or LibGuides. It's not conditional. You can't turn it on for one particular guide. You have to turn it on for all of them. So we maintain a blog in Google, and we can definitely see those statistics, and it's used a lot. Okay, and another question: how do you restrict access to the LibGuide to only library staff? And that we do. We make the guide private. What we actually did in the first year was I was posting information that was probably confidential, perhaps confidential, on the very first version of the evaluation LibGuide. And eventually I figured out that I could link to the site on our, we have a shared drive here in the library, or another place that I knew was more secure. So when I started out with the LibGuides, even though it was a private link, you could only link to it if you knew the link was there, or if you knew what the link was. What I eventually did was I used it more as a launching pad to organize it, organize the all the information within, with from all the tools, from the process itself, and so forth that we just described. And I must say that while we use LibGuides here, because I did see that I think perhaps some of the audience might not have a license for LibGuides, if you have a tool where you can organize, set up tabs or pages that we did within, you can do the same thing we did in LibGuides. So I'm going to go on to the next question. Somebody asked if we could repeat the URL. This webcast or webinar is recorded, and we can that will be made available to you. I'm also going to, Lee and I are also going to make the PowerPoint presentation available to Pamela after the webinar, and we're most happy to share our presentation with you. So again, that URL is on slide 21. It's a template site that we set up that Lee showed you. So there's not, as a template site, it has the structure of what we use within, and I think it'll be very helpful. But please feel free to contact either Lee and myself, and our email address is actually on the first slide and I believe the last slide, and we're most welcome to, we most welcome you to contact us. We have actually talked to quite a few people about this already. And the next question is, how do you deal with resources that need to be considered after your process is complete in January? For example, if you get year-end money, or on the flip side, if you find out you have to make extra cancellations for the FYI. That's a really good question because it's really, I must admit, it's more of a matter of experience. Lee and I have been doing this a long time. I've been doing this nearly 10 years, Lee nearly 3. And so working with a budget, as many of you know, is more of an art than a science. And somehow it all tends to fit in. We know before we even do the budget, is it flat? Do we have, ideally, if we have an increase? And we pretty much know what kind of funds that we have. Perhaps here more than at other campuses, we tend to budget for each electronic resource. So that helps to make sure that if we do need any cancellations, for instance, if our budget goes through to the top administration here and we have to make cancellations, we can do that pretty quickly with the tiered list. We might not have dropped everything on the tier list. For instance, we may have only dropped the Tier 1 resources. Those we can live without. But we have a Tier 2 resources which are lined up in case we need to cancel those as well. So let's see, I'm going to go on to the next question. What sorts of feedback from campus faculty would cause you to, okay, I'm sorry, that was the question I just answered, so I'm going to go on to the next one. I have using a small window here, so, okay, I see how to do it now. How do you get the Excel information into the LibGuide? Well, actually, as I mentioned, we don't put Excel in the LibGuide. What we're using Excel for and other tools, we use the LibGuide or any other, let's say, a website that you might create. We use that as a launching pad. In other words, we link to what the tools that we use. We link to the statistical reports. We link to the main evaluation spreadsheet. We link to the vendor evaluation site. What the LibGuide does is it offers a structure, a launching pad to organize this rather disparate process into one site. I once heard, and perhaps some of you have heard, that the management of electronic resources is rather a patchwork business, and I must agree. And this is how we organize our patchwork into a central quilt, so to speak, or a central site. It seems to be very, very effective. And the next question is, could you let us know how cumbersome or time-consuming collecting your usage stats were? Well, this is always a very difficult process for any electronic resources management or any staff member, even reference and instruction and so forth. And for us, the collecting of the stats is cumbersome. We're looking at now, we're working actually with a web programmer to automate those stats. What will take me sometimes weeks to do now will only take me days. So that's the top priority for us, and definitely we're looking into that. But as you know, we make our decisions as much as possible on facts. That's what we look for. So those stats are absolutely critical. Is the audio available? I'm not sure what that means, but I think hopefully you heard us, and if not, there is a recording. Okay, we've been muted. Okay, I'm just going through these. All right, I see some questions coming in. Okay, here we go. The next question. Why do you use stats from Easy Proxy and not just rely on each database of stats? Well, this is a really good question, and Lee and I really have considered this. The reason why we use Easy Proxy is, I must admit, we use the lowest common denominator. That's how I think about it. What we do is we can't really compare apples and oranges. And that's really what it is on the individual vendor sites, is apples and oranges, unless they're using stats that are in common that have been standardized. And then we can use those stats. But we use Easy Proxy because we have set this up. It's a way for us to quickly see the usage, but we also look at our SFX and research port stats. We consider those, of course, separately. But what's interesting about Easy Proxy is it shows the patron behavior getting into a resource. SFX shows the patron behavior within a resource and even gives us a clue on what they're searching. So this is how we do it here. But of course, those standardized stats are very important, and we hope we can eventually get all vendors to comply with those. And the next question is, and I'm looking at the time, I just want to make sure that we end right on time. Okay. Pamela and Felicity, I think we're getting close to the time. I just want to make sure. Can I answer one more question? Okay. Okay, I'm going to answer. We have time for one more question, I'm told. So any questions that we haven't answered, I think we'll definitely get those, and we will definitely get the answers out to you all. So one more question. Do you use an ERMS to manage your subscription information, or do you use LibGuides for this? Well, we're using the ERMS, most definitely, for the subscription information. Right now, since this really is a patchwork business for us, we're developing a whole new homegrown ERMS. And we definitely will use that to include all our subscription information. Lee and I have met over many weeks to consider all that. LibGuides really can't handle that. I think it would be just much too cumbersome to maintain, especially with the subscription information. You have a lot of metadata that's important. So I think that's the last question. And we definitely will take a look at any question that wasn't answered. And we thank you very much for coming. And I'm going to go ahead and advance the slide. So thank you very much. And that's our, this is our email here, libresources@umuc.edu. And again, we thank you very much for coming. And we will get to all of your questions that weren't answered. Thank you. So I'll now turn this back to Pamela and Felicity.